Welcome to Toffee TV. It is the daily live extra. Rafa Benitez has just given his first press conference as Everton manager. Fielded the questions you'd expect, really, the small club comments and the banners, and was it a difficult decision to take the job? Thought he handled it all well, and you'd expect him to. He's been a manager for a long time, so wasn't really going to be caught out by anything like that, was he? But yeah, I thought like I said, I thought he'd done well. He'd done well with it. You know, spoke about winning a lot, which I like. Wasn't going to be drawn on individuals. Was asked a question about James Rodriguez, wasn't he? Which he battered away a little bit. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Knowing and reading a lot of the stuff around him, he talks about the collective more than individuals, and therefore, I guess it was an answer that we should have expected, that he wouldn't get drawn on anything. But he is Everton player, isn't he? James Rodriguez, and Rafa Benitez will use him. But he's in the same boat as everybody else, and in some respects, that's much better, because nobody is given a free ride then. Whether it works long term, we'll only know as time goes on, won't we? But he's given his first press conference. So let me know in the comments what you thought of the press conference. Is it just what you thought anyway? Nothing new? Impressed or unimpressed? Whatever. Let me know in the comments. Blue Boys in the comments. So Jonathan, come on lads. Steve Murphy says, journalist, full-time. Not a very complimentary word there from Steve. Tom Riddle said, afternoon lads, heard that Dumfries is really close. You heard anything? No. Nothing that suggests Denzel Dumfries is close at all, is the only thing I'll say. Reports come out of Italy today, Everton haven't even met him, which is contradictory to others. So it is what it is. It is what it is. Frew and Pinto says, is Dumfries good enough to play at right back, or could he be another Shadibi? I don't know. He's a good player, isn't he? He's a PSV captain. Played well for Netherlands, albeit he was much more offensive than defensive. So maybe that's why Rafa Benitez is looking at other right backs as well, who may be a little bit more better defensively. But I don't think Dumfries is poor defensively. And I think if we did end up getting him, I think it'd be a good signing. But obviously Max Aarons is another one Everton have looked at. I'm still hoping personally to get Ridley Baku from Wolfsburg, because I think he'd be fantastic for us. So we'll see. We'll see. David Sanchez says, did he say we're getting any new players? Well, he spoke a couple of times about being supported by the board, which kind of suggests that, yes, he's interested in new players. Well, he knows, he's not stupid. He knows, as other people know, that Everton need new players. So he won't be drawn on it, obviously. Wormy Spoon says, isn't a small club. Anyone catch the ninja-like evasion of Dumfries and Koulibaly? I suppose he's not going to, if there's nothing to say, he's not going to say it, is he? That's the other way to look at it. Joe Briggs thinks James is off. Okay. Blue Boy said, I don't like talking about individuals regarding James, then went into detail answering Seamus. Well, he did, but I think Seamus Coleman is slightly different in that, because he's not going to be Everton's first choice right back this season. He's the club captain. There's a plan for Seamus Coleman to remain at Everton. So it's slightly different, and he can talk about him being this wealth of knowledge around Everton, you know, great standards, wants to remain here, wants to do this, that and the other, and he doesn't even have to play him, because he can say he's fantastic in the dressing room, he's fantastic around the squad. So that, to me, is slightly different, but I understand what you mean, Blue Boy. He did kind of contradict himself. Jamie McLeod says, just feel like he's the right man for the job. He's got the experience and background of the city. Sounds like he has a good relationship with the players, such as Coleman and others, open and speaking out. Yeah, I think the biggest thing is he demands effort and commitment. And I think he puts people on the spot a little bit more, I think, than what the likes of Carlo Ancelotti would do. So, and maybe we need that. Maybe our players have I've had it a little bit. Is it a little bit too soft? Maybe a little bit too soft. Maybe they haven't been questioned enough. Maybe Carlo Ancelotti gave some of them the benefit of the doubt too much. And if you read his book, and his book's fantastic, Ancelotti's, but he does, one of the criticisms that's followed him around for a number of years is he gives players too many chances. And I don't think that's the case with Rafael Benitez. I know that when he went into Liverpool, Jersey Dudek arguably won them the Champions League, and he went and got Pepe Reina, because he wanted the goalkeeper who was better with his feet and just a better keeper, so he replaced Dudek like that without even thinking about it. He was prepared to sell Xabi Alonso because he wanted to try something different, moving into other teams. He's done the same at other clubs. Real Madrid, he was trying to change it. So I think he's very closed on what he wants to do. Whether that benefits us, only time will tell. NSNO says there might be a bit of hope if we can fill the gaps, but then who play there? Shouldn't they be on the transfer list? I guess the biggest way to turn a squad around is, or to find real improvements, is the lads you've got in your first team then become your bench, and then that's a real sign. Should be a real sign that your squad, your team is improving year on year. Because if you've got lads who are like, oh well, he has to play one season, then the next season they're your substitutes. Then the lads who are your substitutes have gone, aren't they? So that's probably the way to do it. The rules are hindering Everton more than anything else. So we have to get more out of what we've got as well. And maybe he's the man to do it. Froome Pinto said there's rumours of 50 million for St Maxim, but certainly wouldn't want Everton to waste that much money. I don't think he's worth it. No, St Maxim's a good player, but £50 million, there is much, much better value. You could get the RB and Bailey out of Leverkusen for that, for 50 million for the two of them. So, no, 50 million for him, not for me. Not for me. Hello to Christoph, who's watching. Felix says, any news on how to watch the Florida Cup? No, it hasn't been released yet. It's definitely going to be on Everton TV, but because the likes of Arsenal and Inter Milan are in it, I actually think someone like ESPN or someone like that will carry it. You'll definitely be able to watch it anyway, if it's not just through Everton. I'm sure his goal will have it as well, to be honest with you. DD says, I thought his answer about the small club moment was sufficient enough. I don't know what else people want him to say. Leave it in the past and move forward. Yeah, I mean, I've seen him talk about that before and talk about teams that come and put everyone behind the ball because they're not, as a team, they're not deemed good enough to go toe-to-toe. Well, we know that. That was the reason why we did do that. So there's not really much else he can say. He can't say, I'm sorry for saying it, because then that's ridiculous, isn't it? Because at the time, he wanted a win for Liverpool, and he was fuming because we'd gone there and limited them to very little and got a point, and a game that he wanted to win. We'd be the same. You come off the pitch. They're all managers are prickly when they haven't got their own way, aren't they? And will say things. So Anthony said was impressed with them, to be honest. Come on, you Blues. Stephen Evans says need players in and out as soon as possible. Correct. Sonny says the biggest position we have to target this summer. Well, the right-hand side, to me, we need a right back and we need a right winger. For me, that will be what I'd be banking on straight away. I still think we need a centre midfield player who can get up and down the pitch quickly, and I feel like we need another forward because we've only got. Obviously it depends what happens with Moise Keane. But for me, if Keane goes, we definitely need another striker. We've got Richarlison and Dom. That's it. Cenk Tosun will be going the minute he can walk again. And we haven't got anybody else. Ellis Sims, I think they'll look to give him another loan maybe. So we do need another forward. So there's 4 straight off the bat. Dylan says, one thing I like about Rafa is that in some way he controls the questions by the media. Yeah, he's very, very experienced. So we'll see. Matt Sumner says, I'm assuming from the Rafa's answers that we are more hamstrung by Premier League profit rules than we thought. Are we able to do it? Well, I think we all knew we were, didn't we, Matt? We know we're right up against it. What we've got to do is try to we can do a little bit of business, but it'd be for smaller deals, I guess. We know we have to sell players. Moise Keane is one who I think Everton were banking on selling. And don't forget, if you sold Moise Keane for 40 million, then you can structure the deal, certainly for the first year, for about 4 or 5 players for that. Maybe you could spend in excess of £100 million with that 40 million, because you can amortise stuff. Obviously, next summer, then you have to come up with something, but by then you might have finished in Europe and got money from there. There might be a player who you want to sell who brings you in. So it's about balancing it. But until the financial regulations change, that's how we have to do things. This is why when people stamping their feet and kicking off over the likes of Leicester doing business early, Leicester aren't like this. Leicester have sold their big player every summer, and therefore that money goes back in. So their FFP is fine, so they can go in March. We need 2 players, 3 players, and they can have those deals lined up to go in June, where Everton are like, we've still got to get rid of him, and him, because we've wasted so much money. So Brad says he mentioned the financial regulations a few times, a bit of a concern regard to summer activity. Yeah. Robin says, Baz, it's 350 odd watching, only a small amount of likes. What's doing? I can't tell people to like the. Well, I can, literally, can't I? I can literally say, hit the like button. It's up to people to do it. If they don't want to do it, that's up to them. David wants to know when we're selling Iwobi and Delph. The minute, I guess, somebody comes in for them. Collis King says, why I keep hearing about selling Mina. If we sell him, we can also sell Pickford, Dom, Hammers and Richie. Okay, not really sure what to do with that, Collis. If you want to give me a little bit more on that, we can work with it. Chiesa linked, says Adam. There was Cam's here and he's looking at me mad. Because yesterday I was talking about how easy it is to go on Twitter and start a rumour and have people believe in everything you say. And I said it'd be dead easy for me now to go, Everton Juventus have offered Chiesa for Moise Keane in a swap deal, and people have ran with it. But it was literally just, I was just saying, you know. I'll take it. Yeah, oh yeah, Chiesa with boss money. Mr. Dorff says, what did you make of his comments on the way we'll play? Sounded like we won't have a particular style, but we'll play differently according to the situation and opposition. Yeah, I don't think he's gonna say like we're playing this way every week, because I think he uses his players. What he'll do is he'll try to get a style of play that gets results. End the story. And we'll have to wait and see. But at home, I've got no problem with Everton going away and playing the way we did last season, being, you know, defensive minded and then hitting on the counter attack and winning. But at Goodison, I expect us to be going at teams. And with the players we've got, I especially expect us to be going at teams. And if he does well and gets the home form right, and then he's pragmatic away from home, then that's sound. No problem with that at all. And we'll probably do very well by doing that. So, Derek says, what 3 signings would you make? Baku at right back, Diaby ahead of him, or Bailey. And I'd like someone like Anguissa maybe, or Dennis Zakaria, or Papa Sarr in midfield to go with what we've got. You said 3, and I want a forward as well. Hwang maybe, I think you could get who'd do a good job for us. There's obviously other strikers, of course there is, who would score a lot of goals, the likes of maybe Tony, but you'd have to spend 40 million on it. Terry Moffey's an interesting one at St Etienne, because you might get him. He's still a bit raw, but he could be a good one. Daryl DK is another one. But they're not ready. I don't think we could have. I've seen people saying Patrick Schick. Yeah, he's a really good player, 40 odd million, but where's he going to play? Because I don't think we're going to play 2 up front. So it's, and someone like him is not going to come and sit on the bench. And we're not going to drop Dom, who's just got 20 odd goals. So you'd have to think about how it pieces together as well. So that's why I would go for those 3. NSNO says, I'd just tell Ben Godfrey not to venture forward and be a solid right back. I'd say stop balls coming in and I'm happy. But I think he wants to be a centre back, doesn't he? That's the thing. Rafa smiled when Koulibaly was mentioned. I think the only way Everton get Koulibaly is if Yerry Mina went the other way. Not that I'm advocating selling Yerry Mina, because I think Mina's probably our best defender at the moment. I think Ben Godfrey's got huge potential. But Mina's got just less than 2 years left on his current deal. I don't think Napoli would want Michael Keane. They might do, but I don't know. And so that's probably the only way I could see a deal like that being done. I don't see Everton paying 40 million for Koulibaly just straight out. Could be wrong, but just the way it is, I'm just not convinced. Tom says, anyone think Rafa is like a much more experienced, tactically superior version of Martinez? Even the way he speaks reminds me. Well, he probably reminds you of him because he's Spanish. No. What I would say, Tom, is he reminds me, I liken him to a better version of David Moyes, really, in that. And what I mean by that is making sure you get every last drop out of a player, having a structure. But I think he's a better manager than David Moyes. But I think that he reminds me more of that type of, like, you will give everything for this shirt, and if you don't, you won't play, no matter who you're at. But we'll see. David says, hope he sells Sigurdsson. Didn't like him talking to him, opening the door for him. Collis says, how could we be trying to sell our best defender? He's the only imposing defender we have. I like when he's on the pitch. Sad he gets injuries. Yeah, I think, listen, Yerry Mina's boss. People who think otherwise, well, sorry, everybody has got their own opinion, haven't they? Of course they have. But to me, I think he's our best defender. So, James Wallen says, good to hear us staying strong over the Moyes Keane situation. Yep. Josh F says, top channel, Baz, keep it up. Always looking out for your vids. Cheers, mate. Much appreciated. Where are we? Going down there. Blue Boy says, yeah, fair enough, Baz. I'm trying to read between the lines. Even in the video clips of the first day of training, Benitez and James looked awkward around each other. Maybe I'm looking into it. I don't know. I don't. What can you say? You're there. If you could be bothered, you can read like some stuff that Steven Gerrard said about him when he was at Liverpool. Of like, he didn't even know if he liked him as a player. He said he was never an arm round you. There was no real relationship, but he made you work hard and he improved you as a player. So maybe maybe him and James won't see eye to eye. I don't know. Maybe he'll get more. If James Rodriguez does stay, maybe he'll get more out of him. It's an interesting one, definitely. Soph says, Baz, how will we get round FFP? Our team is awful. Well, we'll have to sell someone, Soph. Quite simply, won't we? I'm quite sure that we can get some deals done by being clever. But bigger deals, we're just gonna have to wait, aren't we? Christoph says Everton definitely need a right back, but if they get Koulibaly, they'd have a stronger defence. Yeah, listen, Koulibaly's brilliant, but he's 30 as well, so it's not long term, is it? So we'll just have to see. But I think there's other options, I think. John Bailey says, all right, Baz, mate, what's your thoughts on Fab Romano? Gets things right clearly, but seems to love the limelight, doesn't he? He loves the fact this is off the old school clueless journalists like Matt Law. Yeah, Fabrizio Romano seems decent, yeah. Seems a good lad. Obviously, in terms of loving the limelight, he's building a brand for himself, isn't he? That's what he is, a journalist, isn't he? So he quite clearly speaks to certain people. He doesn't get everything right, as proven. The Nuno thing and a few other things that he hasn't got right, certainly where Everton are concerned. But he has got a decent record. And it depends, doesn't it? He's not, because I don't like the likes of Matt Law and people like that, but there's a code that they probably follow as written press, where maybe Fabrizio Romano doesn't have to follow some of that stuff, although more and more of them are now just having podcasts, aren't they? And Duncan Castles links us with every player and says you'd think Duncan Castles was Alisher Usmanov the way he goes on about Everton, like he knows everything, but he clearly doesn't. But some of them probably just like to check out the sources. Fab goes a little bit, goes all in on it, but we'll see. I think he's all right though for Joe Romano. Got no problem with him. But it's just with things like that, I think you do always have to have it with a pinch of salt as well, because things can change as well. Where are we? Mark D says, Baz, what impact will Bramley Murdoch have now that it's an asset on FFP? I'll be honest with you, Mark. On this, I don't know what it'll have. I know that there's two companies now, and some of the stuff can be because it's now being approved and the work begins. Once the work begins, some stuff can be taken from one or used from one against the other, I think. So it'll cut the losses a little bit because it's redevelopment and things like that, restructuring. So I think it does it that way. But I'll be honest with you, mate, I'm not clued up totally on that anyway. So it will help. And obviously when we get to Bramley Murdoch, there'll be more revenue streams and everything else. So obviously Everton will make more money from that. But how it actually impacts, I'd have to ask someone like John Blaine for that, because he understands that more than what I do, to be honest with you. Patrick Joyce says, Everton have been talking of more players to sign, but who? Well, it's good because they're keeping some of the stuff in-house now and trying to cut the leaks, which I think is very interesting. Well, it's better. It's a better way of operating. We shouldn't know anything. Nothing should be out. Nothing should be out anywhere, I don't believe. And if you find out that things, as far as I'm concerned, it shouldn't be everywhere, because you want Everton to get as far down the line as possible for it. And it also creates a bit of a narrative for people that if something changes and it doesn't go right, the club might get the blame or something else where it might not be that far down. Or it makes you, as a fan, get wound up because certain things aren't happening, and those things weren't happening anyway. It was just that people or journalists were saying it, and you follow a path going, we're getting him, and then all of a sudden you're not, and you're disappointed. So hopefully the leaks will be cut down to a minimum until Everton are so far down the line that deal is basically happening and done, and Everton, and we're signing these players. Where are we? Charlie White on a free, Coleman for 60 grand. Fabian Martinez wants two up front, Dom and Patrick Schick with Richarlison on left mid. John Bailey, Baz, is Everton your entire life, mate, or do you have other hobbies that you like doing? Never heard you talk about other stuff. My family is my life. Everton, I love Everton. Everton is obviously a huge part of my life. My family is a huge part of is obviously all my life, isn't it? Other stuff I like doing. I'm a proper, I love playing on my PlayStation. I am a gaming freak, a little bit of a gaming. I've always loved that. Doing stuff like that. Other hobbies, walking. I'd like to say going on holiday, mate, but you can't go nowhere. So can we? We can go to, obviously we can go to Wales and places like that, but going abroad isn't, just not happening really, is it? So that kind of stuff. Just seeing something else there. Cine Gamer says, Baz, if you got asked to go on the kickoff, would you go? They never have anyone on repping. Yeah, I think me or Ped might be on it next season. So believe at some stage. Probably more likely to be Ped, because he likes to get full ranty, doesn't he? And you could see him having a little bit of a go with Geordie, and having a little bit of a go at Lawrence and people like that. So you may be more likely to see Ped on it, giving it the Al Big one rather than me. But we'll see what happens. Where are we? Keith Powell wasn't impressed with Rafa's press conference. Journalists asking ridiculous questions, personal, referring to Chelsea fans, talk sport. It was atrocious, cut it off. Well, it was an open one, and they're the press. They're accredited press, Keith. So you Everton have to allow them in. They've got no real say on anything To be honest, I thought they asked him the questions that a lot of people have been going on about. I thought he handled them all quite well. But yeah, he was to me, he was always going to be asked. There was no surprises there. Michael Wood says, sounded positive. I'm starting to come round to it now. Seemed like the best available and looks like he'll put in the work required. Some awfully embarrassing questions there, though. Sky asking questions he answered the day he took over as manager. Be interesting when player movement begins. Hope Delph doesn't worm his way into any plans. Fletcher says, what I found interesting was when asked who contacted who, he contacted Everton. Right balance between winning mentality and commitment to the club. Yeah, their agents will let the club. Everton got over 60 odd or 70 odd applications, whatever it was. Agents will reach out to the football club straight away. Obviously, once they've had a chat, are you interested in that? And he was obviously quite clearly interested in it. So, Alex Riley thought he'd come across well. To be honest, I think we've got a good manager. Looks like James is on his bike. Who knows? Alex says, one of the straws I'm clutching about James is who can afford the wages we pay him. Can't see many clubs, maybe why Milan backed out due to their own financial issues. Gary Ward says, howdy. John says, Baz, do you think it's weird having Benitez as manager, and what type of players do you think he'll bring in? Do you think it's a good appointment or not? It's a little bit strange, but I am getting used to it the more time goes on. I'd like him to get on with, and obviously he's just touched on it, hasn't he? He's just touched on how difficult it is with the financial regulations. I'd like him to get on with bringing some players, and I think once one or two players come through the door, I think everybody then starts to get a little bit more excited and start to have a look at maybe how we're going to play and that kind of stuff. I think at the moment we're still all a little bit like deflated at the way the season finished. I'm not, Ancelotti, I know a lot of people gutted over it. I'm not that bothered he's gone, to be honest, but I think just the way we limped over the line when we were in a really good position, I think has deflated a lot of people, particularly the times we're living in as well. So I think you need something that gives you that little kick of energy, that little thing to get excited about. And I think if Everton can get a couple in through the door by the time we go to Florida, I'm not sure they will, but I think that'd be fantastic. I think it'd give everyone a big boost then, and then see if we can get a few players out the door and bring in the other ones we need as well. Lee McDonald says, very impressed with Rafa so far and the positivity coming from him. Good. Tom says, gamer freak was probably the wrong word. I like me games. I like me PlayStation. What do you think about The Last of Us 2? The negative criticism was outrageous for me. The 2 games are the greatest games ever made. It was unbelievable, The Last of Us 2. It's just such an incredible idea. The narrative's fantastic in it. Absolutely brilliant. Brilliant. Loved it. Absolutely loved it. What do you think, hope, be the biggest thing that Rafa brings to Everton? A trophy, I hope. Progress is another one, I hope. Organisation, because I don't think we've been moving in the right direction for a while. So I hope he gets the club if he can, on a footing that allows us to progress. And I hope that his willingness to work rubs off on people around him and the players. And I think if we do that, we're in a much better position to do what we want to do. I think the problem is, the problem you've got is that history will go against what we've done in the past. We have to try to clean up quickly to help us progress, because we're still being hammered by FFP and mistakes we've made, and we can't really escape that. We have to clean those mistakes up and move forward, and I think he can help us do that. Whether it works or not, time will tell, won't it? So, where are we here? Blue Boy says, are the Everton 80s Pez videos ever coming back? Love Pez. We are doing Pez. We've got a production meeting next week, me, Ped, Ned, about what we need to be doing for the new season. And somewhere in that will be the Pez videos. Obviously, we've got FIFA series with Ned and Camp, which is funny. which is really good, even though they're a bit rubbish at times. The videos are brilliant, so check them out as well. Rafa Benitez is God. I mean, interesting. Everton will win the Florida Cup. Who knows? Yeah, so there you go. Let's quickly, before we move on, Everton have confirmed that Sava Ismailov and Grant Ingles are to be appointed to the Everton Board of Directors. Ismailov is the interesting one here, the nephew of Alisher Usmanov. So he was already involved at the club, wasn't he? He was the sporting director of Everton Women. So therefore, it's an interesting one that Usmanov is. It's a little bit more out there, isn't it? Out in the open. And the board's a little bit bigger, so that, you know, that's a positive thing, I guess. Brian says, Baz, when did you start supporting Everton? When I was a wee nipper, mate. When I was a child. So it's been a long time. So I think I'm due some success again now. I want to see us being decent, at least. Finn21 says, have you ever thought about doing PC PES with the mods of trophies and stadiums in the game? No, mate. I know they're incredible, but we haven't got a PC good enough to do it in here. I have seen some of them. They are fantastic. Some of the way they create the competitions and the grounds in the game is fantastic. It really is. Right, where are we? Patrick says, for me, it says a lot that the press conference was scheduled to begin at 1:30 and it began on the dot. Carlo was always late. Yeah, that's if it was fully live. But I think what you will find is Benitez is one of those punctual people as well. Right, last couple. Michael Beaton says, what's your thoughts on the lack of pre-season friendlies? Would it be nice to have a few games against lower opposition for the fans to go to? Also, what sort of allocation do you think we'll get? Well, we had our first one at the weekend. There's others to come. Although I think that, well, they are going to be behind closed doors. Probably on training grounds. And then obviously we've got the Florida Cup before we play United. I don't think you can... A lot of the Football League clubs are making alterations to their grounds and doing that in hope that fans can be back. Right now, I don't see any club wanting fans in the stadium. Cases of COVID are still rising, 30,000 a day now. So I'm hoping that we're still going to be allowed in for the opening day of the season. I'm a little bit worried that might change at the minute. So I don't see anybody letting any fans anywhere near the players or whatever at the minute. It is a pity that we can't go, of course. It's a pity that we can't see the games. You know, would have been nice to watch the Accrington game at the weekend and others. I think it looks like the first game we're going to get to see is the Florida Cup. So, we'll have to just wait and see. Gaz says, I'm going to be honest, I like this guy, Rafa Benitez. Seems straight down the line. I'm entering that weird emotional pre-season zone again, known to many as hopefulness. You've got to. If you can't be hopeful in pre-season, there's not much you can do, is there? Liam says, what do you make of the financial restrictions Rafa mentioned a couple of times, Baz? Yeah, not a surprise, to be honest, Liam. Not really a surprise. Knew about it. This is why when you see people going, I know we're spending 200 million this summer, it's all nonsense. Because unless the financial regulations changed immediately, we wouldn't be able to do that. We're up against the wall with the losses. You're allowed £105 million losses, I think, or something over 3 seasons, and Everton's way over that. But obviously things can be taken off. So even if we look at the brightest scenario, we're right up against it. So we might be able to whittle it down to 100 million. So there's 5 million to play with. So don't forget we've had another season with no fans in the stadium, which has cost us a huge amount of money. We've had reduced television money because what the TV pay for is stadiums that are full or stadiums with fans in. That hasn't been there, so that's been chopped away. So we have lost income streams. So those losses, a lot of clubs will have the same thing. You've got to be creative and clever. This is why Everton wanted the money for Moise Kean as well. So we'll just have to see what happens. Everton are trying to do a couple of deals, but would be more difficult to do bigger deals unless something changes financially, whether that's a new sponsorship deal that creates a pot of money, whether the Premier League say, which I think the Premier League have got a cheek if they turn around and try to stop teams spending money this summer because of COVID. I think you could argue that we can spend another 50, 60 million pound at least this summer because COVID's cost us that. I don't know how, when other clubs throughout Europe have had rules relaxed to spend money, that the Premier League are going to turn around and go, no, we're not letting our teams spend money when we're in the middle of a global pandemic. That isn't going away anytime soon. Certainly not over the next 8 weeks that the transfer window's got left or whatever. So whether Everton, in the end, choose to ignore those rules and say, right, well, Man City, we'll see you in court, I don't know. But right this moment, the financial regulations, the financial restrictions we've got at the minute is probably the reason why we're not going, yeah, we'll have you, and we'll have you, and we'll have you. We're having to be a little bit more creative, a little bit more thoughtful with what we do. Anything else you read on social media is nonsense, basically, when they're talking about buying this fella and that fella and that fella, because unless we sell big, that can't happen at the minute. I hope and pray that it changes. I hope the league turn around and go, right, we'll look at this next summer, and Everton go, right, we're going to do our business here and see if we can get a couple more in. But right now, it's difficult, which is why things seem to be a little bit slow. But things are going on behind the scenes. It's just that it'll take, if you've got a big wad of cash, it's easier to buy that bottle of water, isn't it? Whereas if you've got, you're looking at ways to get enough money to buy that thing, it'll take you longer. So that's probably the worst analogy ever, but there you go. It was in front of me. Last couple, Mike says, deleted all my social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Just have a look at Everton's Twitter page at the end of every day and watch my YouTube stuff now. Best thing I ever did. You know what, mate? It is. If I didn't have this and didn't do this, I would not be on social media at all. It's the worst thing in the world. At times, it really is. It's negative. It's full of, there's a element on there that you wouldn't want to mix with. It's easy to be abusive to people on there and hide behind it. It brings you down. It creates this. It creates narratives that aren't really there. I honestly can't think of a plus point for it other than there is some good people on there as well. So maybe the way to do it is make your account maybe private and just follow the people you want to follow. Because I think there's nothing good really comes out of it on a larger scale. We've seen the stuff that the England lads have had to face since missing penalties. Absolutely disgusting. We saw the stuff Jordan Pickford went through for, after the Van Dijk incident. We've seen a lot of other stuff that people get abused for the way they look, for who they are, for their sexuality, for everything. It's just a cesspit of scum at times. It really is. And I know the other side of that is it can be fantastic as well. It does a lot of good. But me personally, I think the only way it really survives, and I know there's a petition going now, is that you have to give all your details, full details in. So the minute you make a comment, you can be accountable for it. That way it might improve slightly. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. Hammers Estain says, Jack the lad. Tom Riddle, we're working on it, Tom, don't worry about that. Liam says, when does the new 3-year cycle end so we can take our punishment? And Liam, you know what? It kind of doesn't. It's so annoying. It's that it just runs on. So you're waiting for years to drop off. So you've almost got to have like a year like Chelsea had, where you're banned from doing anything. And then it clears everything. And then, so if you don't spend that year, that all drops off. All of a sudden, you're at year one again, and you can spend a big amount of money, knowing you can chalk it off. Everton would have to probably have a summer where they didn't really spend that much money, or they sold big to get a big chunk of it wiped off. And I just think the way the global pandemic has done in terms of hammering football clubs money-wise, we're not even going to get this big £80 million bid for a Charleston or £90 million for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, where you'd go, if we sold him, it means we could clear a bit of that and we can buy this lad and he can do a similar, and then you can do what Leicester done. It's going to be tricky to do it. And that's why I think, and I've probably bored people for long enough with this, but I think there needs to be a change in the rules where your owner can gift money to the club, but it doesn't get saddled against the club. So Farhad Moshiri says, I want to give £100 million to Everton this summer to spend. It's his money. It's not Everton Football Club. So that doesn't go against the losses, because what those losses are, what the financial regulations are in place for is to prevent another Portsmouth. It's to prevent club running up £400-500 million debts and people going, yeah, the football club's got to go because I can't afford it. If you've got people to underwrite that and guarantee it, or give money separately, that's a different thing. And I think that's how it can change, because we've got two owners, or one owner and his mate, who want to spend a huge amount of money to try to get us up to the level where other clubs are, and we're not allowed to do it, which is nonsense, I think, but that's just my opinion. Charlie says, Rafa is growing on me, full support. Liam says, oh, thanks, Baz, I was under complete different illusions. They better start counting the coppers, yeah, then, mate. We'll have to do a Just Giving or a GoFundMe or something, Liam, won't we, for a midfielder. Listen, thank you very much, everyone who's joined us. Tom says, 560 viewers. Like the video, lads, it costs nothing. Thanks, Tom. You've been like the little mascot there in the background, haven't you? Top man. Thanks to everybody who joined. If you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We're very close to 52,000 now, really close to it. In fact, you could be the person that takes us over it. How good would that make you feel? Incredible. In a week when we're all feeling, I actually feel all right. The weather's great, so it's all good. Thanks for watching. Cheers for joining us. Don't forget, give the Footy Show channel a subscribe. We talk about general footy on there. We'll actually be back at 5 o'clock, won't we? Live at 5. And don't forget, hang on, Ned, go to Ned Cam. Come on. Not Ned and Cam, go to Ned Cam.
Hello.
Right, what did you want to say?
There's a new breakaway channel called Ned and Cam.
Hang on. It's not a breakaway channel. You're not the ESL. There's a new YouTube channel.
Yes.
Called Ned and Cam.
Ned and Cam.
Right. Have you put the link in the description?
I can't put it yet because it's not visible until I do a new video. But there's a new video out today, so make sure you keep checking. It'll be on Twitter.
Okay.
I'll tweet it.
All right. But I apologise. We'll probably do this tomorrow when it is actually a thing. But listen, thanks very much for watching. Thanks for commenting. It was had a good chat today. Superb. Robin says, great work again, Baz, here in Sydney. See you on Twitter. Nice one, Robin. Take care, mate. Thanks everyone for watching. Don't forget, you can join Patreon if you want to. We do lives every day on there as well. But we will be back tonight on YouTube live at 5. Cam will be with us, I think. Are you staying for it? Cam will be with us then as well. Take it easy. See you later. Bye.